All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? Good to see you. And thanks to everybody for hanging out. That's right. Obsolete Optics. Woo. Hold on one second. Got hit with something real quick. Oh, I love when that happens, when the show starts and hit with a massive coughing spasm. It's always good form. All right. I'm okay though. Everything's all right. How you doing? Greetings. Yeah. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. We bring you the show every day for free on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. There are no costs whatsoever in watching the show. So, but there's a good way to support the show if you enjoy it, which is buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews. That's one good way. Another great way, very directly, Venmo or Cash App. Those links are in the description box of all the platforms I'm on. Also, Rockfin tips, otherwise known as Super Rays, greatly accepted. Also, Super Chats. Thank you. Yeah, I heard real quick on the Rockfin chats, Denver. I heard about this right before I started the show. Multiple emergency response teams were deployed to address a submerged barge carrying 1,400 tons of toxic methanol in the Ohio River. What is going on? What is going on? Many people are wondering, is this a collapse of our infrastructure? Is this a collapse of safety regulations meant to keep these things from happening? Is this industrial civilization an overshoot? Is this intentional on some levels or premeditated? I don't know. People have a lot of questions about everything that's going on right now. I mean, the intentional thing, maybe. Sure seems dumb though, right? If it truly is intentional, it's something. It's kind of like the idea that heating up the planet is somehow intentional. Well, yeah, it's okay. Real hard to reverse that though. Same with the poisoning and or polluting of profit is intentional. Thank you, Creative Experiments. Yeah, it's hard to reverse that. Now, if you're just like, to go back to the last point, I'm just trying to make this money and I don't really, safety guidelines be damned, and we're going to skirt the rules, or there are no rules, or, rules are for chumps. Rules are for suckers. And we don't care who we hurt or what we hurt. It's just all about making that bottom line that, work out for us and for our shareholders or whatever. That's about how status quo, right? That's about how it works. Anyways, that's a frightening scene there, and that's a frightening things that are going on the planet are maybe not surprising, but amazing and infuriating. I don't know. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna discount completely the idea that it's intentional, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, but maybe. Denver says if you can poison a lot of people, then number one, side effects aren't as pronounced. Two, you won't have to pay as much in pension benefits, etc. Maybe. Again, though although I think those are short. I think those still fall under the designation as short-term answers to the profit motive, right? Again, like an intentional poisoning, in the long run, just really, really doesn't make any sense, right? Because eventually it's going to hurt you if you're the long-term poisoner. If you really do think, and there was a time actually, there's a armed army document about wanting to heat up the Arctic so that they could get to the minerals and the resources there. They thought there was oil and mineral resources and all kinds of stuff in the Arctic, and they actually thought maybe it was a good idea to intentionally do that, again for profit. So however, I just any and all of it is short-term thinking. Short-term profit taking, short-term cost cutting, short-term whatever. And I don't discount any theories really at this point, but yeah. Again, going back to the heating up of the Arctic, like the long-term implications of that are really bad, super, super bad. And that ends up like kind of negating the idea that there's going to be a livable planet for humans. And so either these people are short-sighted psychopathic children, totally, which might explain it. People who have no care for the future of the human race, only that they're for their comfort and security and wealth accumulation during their lifetimes, and they're going to ride it out and have a good old time, and get all the yachts and private planes they can, and let the future, let the dice roll on the future. I don't know. The thing is that the long-term implications of this poisoning, this polluting, this destruction of the biosphere, this melting of the Arctic, this melting of the glaciers, this disruption of the weather systems, the long-term implications are that there ain't going to be nobody around eventually to enjoy anything. So I don't know. And I mean, my guess is that the people in charge already know that they have set these things in motion. There's nothing to do about it. There's no fixing it. So, over the falls and let the best man win, I guess. I don't know. But it's pretty wild. Poppy sent me this. I think we covered this at one point, and I'm not going to read it because it's in the New York Times, and I have no subscription to the New York Times, and I don't plan to do it. And I mean, her commentary is what I just wanted to show. Fast-growing field of research allows us to assess with ever greater confidence and specificity how human-induced changes in Earth's chemistry are affecting the severe weather outside our windows. Well, no duh. They're talking about the growing field called attribution science, which is attributing the severity of weather events to climate change. But, I think, I don't know, just reading the article probably might just make me mad. Of course, we can attribute things to climate change, but it's funny how, one side of the political spectrum wants to make you think that they're pushing climate change every step they can. And if you actually look into it, or you actually listen to a scientist that's talking about climate change, they are full of reticence to actually attribute anything to climate change. They want to play the we don't know game. Well, we're not quite sure. I don't know. More study is needed. More investigation is needed. We don't really want to, we don't want to go too far. That doesn't sound like pushing pushing climate change at every turn. That sounds like scientific reticence. So, which one is it? I don't know. You tell me. It's kind of like the article I read the other day where they were saying, well, we think these bodies of water are growing more salty because of, salting the roads and industrial chemical runoff, and all these things are running in. We need to study how bad it can get, or how bad it can be, or how what are the safe limits, all this stuff. When none of that study is actually necessary, all you need to know is like, well, that's got to be bad, and then proceed from there. That any amount of this is bad for these local rivers and streams. It's just bad. How do we stop it? How do we stop it from happening? What can we do? How can we do things differently to stop this completely from happening? No, we need to study it some more and see how bad it can get. We need to establish safe limits for drinking water. We need to, whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. Scientists can be ridiculous too. Science in itself can be completely, not saying that all science is bad. Not saying that some scientists don't have their finger on, things that are really going on. Yes, Timothy Martin. Scientists always angling for grant money. That is who they are. Right. And again, for the people that are like, they're pushing climate change at every turn. No, they're not. They're not really. If they're just, well, we need more money to study how bad this really is. We can see clearly that this is, the warming of the oceans, depleting all the fish stocks, and rubberizing the shells of crustaceans, and whatever the climate change is doing. All they can really say to it is like, well, we need to check it out some more and tell you how bad it is. No, it's just bad. I mean, that is just horrific. Horrifically bad. How do we stop it in its tracks? How do we redesign how humanity organizes itself on the planet Earth so that we don't do this, and kill everyone on the planet? How do we do that? No, they're not doing that. They're not talking in those kind of terms. So they're not really pushing climate change at every turn. Not really. If you actually looked into it, the thing you think they're doing with climate change is, you have no idea because you don't really look into it that hard. That's okay, though. That's all right. That's okay. That's fine. Sacramento resident spots broken train track near River Park Community Union Pacific It's now crowdsourcing their safety. Well, yeah, I guess you gotta. Anyways. Gene asks Kevin, but question I keep hearing is what year or month is it all over? Well, where do you hear that? Are you hearing that on other climate? I'm just curious. Are you hearing it in on other climate channels? I don't know. You are not shadow banned, Bella Lugrisi. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that question. I stopped asking that question myself, and I stopped paying attention to people who were saying, "This is the year, this is it, it's all over." However, I was overcome, Creative Experiments has been in the chat saying like the economic collapse is coming in a week or 2 weeks or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I was overcome recently by a feeling. It's just a feeling that that the unraveling of the biosphere may be upon us very soon. Just a feeling. I have no. It's not about El Nino. It's not about anything. It's not about a blue ocean event. I just had a feeling, but my feeling could be wrong. My feeling could be wrong. I don't know. I was just overcome by the feeling that something that it might be a race between economic collapse and biosphere collapse. I don't know. However, I will still say we do not know the time or the hour, and we really don't know. I would really refrain from saying like anything like this is the year that or even next year is the year that I would refrain from saying any of that. Nobody knows. This is what I do know. That we have seen an inordinate amount, just an amazing amount of kind of extreme calamitous events happening, right? Extreme weather events, like super out of the pocket. Several standard deviations away from the norm weather events, in the last couple of years. Including, record snowpack and record drought and, all the rivers of the world going dry in the same summer. It's a pretty phenomenal events. If you're paying attention, it's pretty phenomenal. If you're not busy like, onward and upward, climate change, hooey, right? If you're not one of those people, if you're paying attention, you'd be like, whoa, those are some amazing kind of, I don't know what you want to call it. It's pretty amazing weather extreme weather events, all in the same year. So, my guess is that within the next year, definitely within the next 2 years, we will see some amazing, like some extreme weather events that are just so off the charts that people are just going to be like 130 degrees in Memphis or Indianapolis or somewhere. You know what I mean? We're going to see one of those events. I'm not wishing for this to happen, but millions of people dying in India or somewhere because of an extreme, or China because of an extreme heat event. We're going to see something like that, and then people are going to go, oh, okay, yeah. So it's not going to be like the end, where it's all going to unravel all at once. And nothing ever happens that way either, even in an economic collapse. Nothing happens that way. So even if we're in an economic collapse, it's going to unravel over the next, right? It's going to play out over the next year. It's not going to be like, peace to creative experiments. I doubt, and man, I don't even want to say this because I'm probably just wishing to bring upon some kind of universal slapdown. But, nothing's going to happen in 1 week or in 2 weeks. Everything's going to collapse, and that's going to be it. We're all going to be living in, handmade mud huts. It's not going to happen like that. Yes, will the economy most likely collapse? Probably, but it's probably going to go over the next year. Like major shocks are going to happen where things are going to go boop, 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 right? And, more likely by the time we get to October, people will be like, oh, shoot, this is really bad. Right? So, no offense to creative experiments, but, could the entire, economy collapse in next week? Possibly, but I really doubt it. It doesn't usually happen that way. It just doesn't happen that way. It's like something could happen in the next week or two that makes people go, oh, I see. This is not so good, right? And then things continue to kind of unravel. And that's how it's going to happen with climate change, right? We will have an event in the next year or two where everybody's going to go, oh, crap. It's 135 degrees and, somewhere. Los Angeles, who knows? Somewhere. And people are going to go, oh. Check. All right. Hopefully that fixed the crackling. Anyways. Yeah, so it's not, I really doubt that anything is going to fall apart this year or next year. I do believe that something will happen that will change people's minds about the reality of the world that we're living in, to the extent that people may go, all right, and now things are going to continue to unravel. Like something, the economy is not going to collapse next week or 2 weeks from now, but it will go. Something will happen, and it will continue to unravel over the next year or two. Right? I mean, in 2008, it wasn't like one thing happened in 2008. No, it was a series of things. CEOs told us they were going to crash the economy this year to drive inflation down. That will happen. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's, it takes time for these things to play out. It's a big system. The Earth system and the economic system. It's a big system. It's a really big system. Interesting point, though, creative experiments. I know I'm not really like covering any news stories right now. To drive inflation down to that point, I was talking to somebody about the fact that like everything, I have a clip from Peter Schiff. Maybe I'll play that. He's talking about inflation's going to get crazy. It's going to go double, triple, quadruple. Maybe, but I do. Well, I don't mean a sustained 135 degrees, but I'm just saying we'll hit something crazy on a thermometer one day. It'll be like, oh, there's a heat wave coming, much in the way of like 120 degrees in, British Columbia, 122 degrees or something like that, right? Where it's like, whoa, that is really hot for British Columbia. Right. So imagine one day on the thermometer goes to 130 or 135, somewhere in the Midwest or something. Even Dallas, Texas. So somewhere, right? And people go, oh, because it's off the charts, right? There's a point at which it is off the charts, right? Like there is no 130 degrees in Dallas, Texas. There's no 135 degrees in Dallas, Texas, right? There is that doesn't happen, right? You can say maybe in Death Valley, California, maybe, but you don't have that kind of anomaly happen. And when that happens, and it will happen, some people will go, oh, geez. And that's survivable for a day. Yeah, 135 degrees. I mean, people will die, but it's survivable for most. Most people will be like, well, maybe it'll crash the power grid. Let's say it happens in Dallas, 135 degrees on a day, and it crashes the power grid because everybody's like, it's 135 degrees, we're going to die, unless it cools down quickly. But a lot of people will survive. Most people will survive. That for a day, but that will surely make people go, oh, well, dang. And how about the cows? How about the chickens? And how about the birds and the bees and the things in the fields on a 135 degree day? How about all of those animals that die because they don't have air conditioning? I'm not forgetting. I know Jazz Farm. I'm not forgetting about 120 in Seattle last summer. I'm not forgetting about that at all. Again, though, 120 is crazy, pretty crazy. But you can, 120, you can still survive, right? Anywhere on the planet, you could still go like, well, 120 degrees, okay, we can make it through this, right? Well, we can kind of, whoo, that's hot, whoo, we can kind of glide through this one. But, when it does the 130, 135 on a given day, and it will in the next year or two, somewhere, in the contiguous United States, it will hit that, and people will go, oh, shit. Even if it hits it for a day, that's an oh, shit moment. That's an oh, shit moment. So that I think is going to happen. That doesn't mean that the body collapses at that point. No, it just means that we reached another boop, another another milestone in climate change, and probably one that people will not be able to shrug off and go like, well, they're just making that happen because of the things and somebody in the geoengineering is doing it, or Dr. Evil on his mountain lair. It's not. You're not going to be able to shrug stuff off like that. That's going to be an oh shit moment of epic proportions. And it will be interesting to see what people have to say about that. Well, let's look at this Peter Schiff. We've been talking a lot. We've been just talking a lot. That's all good. That's fine. Sometimes we just talk about this and that. Peter Schiff, and I like Peter Schiff, who was famous, I guess, for calling the 2008 banking crisis, but Peter Schiff has been calling a banking crisis for about the last 7 years, every single year. So it's hard when people do that. It's hard to take, after a while you're like, okay, is it this year? Is it this year? Is it this year? Right? It's hard to do that. I mean, it's kind of looking like it might be this year. It's looking like, yeah. So this is the wheelhouse for Peter Schiff to come in and go like, hey, let me call it, Anyways, let's check this out.
You're never going to get effective regulation by the government. What we want is free market regulation. Unfortunately, we don't have that. This financial crisis has been obvious for years. Only government regulators are blind enough to miss it. But if the government wasn't there, if banks and their depositors, more importantly, realized that their money was at risk if a bank failed, then banks would be acting a lot more responsibly, because people would not deposit their hard-earned money into a bank that was taking too much risk. But thanks to the government, no one.
And speaking of deposits, the FDIC insured everybody's in both Signature and Silicon Valley Bank. I don't understand why Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, is saying no taxpayer dollars will be used to insure everybody.
Liz, this is the same.
Liz, that's just politics. Yeah, that's just politics, but it's not really going to be taxpayer dollars. It's going to be inflation. See, every American, whether they pay taxes or not, is going to bear the cost of these bank bailouts and this new financial crisis.
We don't have enough money. Look on the screen,
inflation.
Peter. The FDIC has $128 billion in its coffers right now. This would cost $17 trillion.
They have nothing. The Fed is going to print it. The Fed's balance sheet is going to explode. And the value of the dollar is going to implode. And the cost of living in the United States is going to double. It's going to triple. It's going to quadruple. And it's going to impoverish the vast majority of Americans. And they need to know the reason they're going to be so poor is because of the government. It's not because of the free market, because we don't have.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's some debatable things in there. There's some debatable things that he's saying in there, because I don't know that the free market has an answer necessarily. Do I think that the people in charge of the Fed or the economy or the CEOs or the the bankers, do I think that they're trying to really save the economy and save people from financial ruin? No, I don't think that. Anyways, there's a flip side though to when things get so expensive, you know, when things quadruple in price or whatever. Yes, you can get to points where you need, you know, wheelbarrows full of money to go buy a candy bar or whatever, but at some point people can't buy anything. They stop buying things. And at that point, you can't keep selling things, right? So there's an inverse to inflation, which is as soon as things get too expensive, people just don't have the wherewithal to buy these things anymore. And you actually, right, if demand decreases enough, inflation cannot continue to sustain itself, right? You can't keep charging the prices you're charging, because if you're not selling any product and you don't have, right, there's a thing that happens, right? If you're a company that's like, well, you know, we got to keep up with inflation and we got to keep raising our prices in order to, you know, keep up with inflation. But if you reach an inversion point where people can't afford to even buy your product at all, and then you're like, oh, we're not selling anything anymore. Oh God. Well, we got to do something. We got to sell something. Like remember during the last recession, all of a sudden, you know, all the fast food places started getting dollar menus, right? And also dollar stores became very popular, right? That's the proliferation and predominance of dollar stores. They got very popular. Why? Because people didn't have enough money to just go buy regular things off the menu at a fast food place or go buy regular things at a Target or whatever. They were like, there's this dollar store over here where I can get everything for like a quarter of the cost, right? That's all I got is a couple of dollars. So I can go to the fast food place and get something off the dollar menu, right? So there's a point at which, you know, in order to make any money whatsoever, you actually have to decrease the prices of your things, because otherwise you won't sell enough to actually make any profit or to make enough money to even keep things going. So there's an inversion to inflation. Eventually, if things get too expensive, all of a sudden things go all the way back down. Actually, there was an example of that. There was an example of that in the last recession, right? If you remember, and Michael Rupert famously talked about this, and I saw this too. They kept oil prices up. I think it was I think it was intentional. I think it was manufactured, engineered. They kept oil prices at nationally, it was like 425. It was like the highest it had ever been. And they kept them up there for like, I don't know how long it was, 8 months or 10 months or, it was a long time. Long enough to crash the economy. Because it just forced everything, inflation way up, right? Everything, the cost of everything else went way up because of these sustained, oil prices. And when the economy suddenly, after the economy had totally crashed and, everybody was just like trying to figure out what to do, like there was a point at which oil prices went, pew, just fell off a cliff, went from $4 down to like $2 and even less in some places, out of nowhere because they couldn't sustain, you couldn't keep selling it at that price. And eventually the inversion happened. That's another example of the inversion of anyways. But you have to have that shock first, right? You have to have the inflation shock, the economic hit, you have to have that happen first. And then when nobody has any money anymore, then they're all scrambling for the cheapest thing they can find, whether it be, housing or food or gas or whatever. All right. What else do I want to play? It's getting late in the show. The show is kind of taken on a life of its own. But let's go to I just want to play that clip of Peter Schiff. Let's go to India. Let's talk about wet bulb temperatures or a looming heat wave crisis. From Doomer Girl News, record heat waves push India closer to the limit of human survival because it's not a sudden onset disaster, because it's a slow onset. We don't push back on it. There's been a few people talking about this, the idea that, heat waves might get bad enough soon to really, really cause a problem in India and elsewhere. India, on course to becoming the world's most populous country, risks approaching the limit of human survival as it experiences more intense and frequent heat waves. The National Weather Office has forecast rising temperatures in the coming weeks after India experienced its hottest February since 1901. That's stoked concerns that there will be a repeat of last year's record heat wave, which caused widespread crop damage and triggered hours-long blackouts. While temperatures as high as 50 degrees Celsius, 122 Fahrenheit, are unbearable in any condition, the damage is made much worse for those of India's 1.4 billion population who are stuck in tightly packed cities and don't have access to well-ventilated housing or air conditioning. Heat stress for humans is a combination of temperature and humidity, said Kieran Hunt, a climate scientist at the University of Reading, who has studied the country's weather patterns. India is typically more humid than equivalently hot places like the Sahara. This means sweating is less efficient or not efficient at all. It's called wet bulb temperature. This is why in India, a measurement known as the wet bulb reading, which combines air temperature and relative humidity, provides a better gauge of heat stress on the human body. A November report by the World Bank cautioned that India could become one of the first places in the world where wet bulb temperatures could soar past the survivability threshold of 35°C. The question is, have we got inured to heat-led suffering, said Abbas Jha, one of the report's authors, because it's not a sudden onset disaster. Because it's a slow onset, we don't push back on it. While no country is untouched by global warming, there are multiple reasons that make India an outlier. Anyways, it helps to separate heat wave temperatures into two parts: the background, or the monthly average temperature, and the anomaly, or the bit added or subtracted by the specific weather occurring at the time. Over India, since the pre-industrial period, the background has increased by about 1.5 C. Therefore, 1.5 C, huh? The background in India has increased to 1.5 C. Therefore, everything else being equal, the heat wave weather patterns today would be associated with temperatures about 1.5 C warmer than they had occurred 100 years ago. There are other compounding factors. Over some cities, the urban heat island effect has added roughly an additional 2 C to the background. Deforestation also contributes. Why are they happening more frequently? This can also be split into two parts. Firstly, the Indian government's definition of a heat wave is fixed. So as background temperature increases, less and less strong anomalies are required to surpass the heat wave definition threshold. Secondly, it does appear that the weather patterns, high pressure over North India leading to dry, sunny, clear conditions with weak wind associated with these anomalies, are also increasing in frequency. Hotter heat waves where the temperatures stay higher for longer tend to result in more fatalities. In India, this is exacerbated by the rapid population increase over the last few decades. The danger lies with India's background temperature already being so high. In May, for example, the only places on the planet comparable in temperature to North India are the Sahara and parts of the inland Arabian Peninsula, both of which are very sparsely populated. With the background temperatures already being so high, over 40 C, even small increases are likely to push close to human survival limits. I don't know what can mitigate the damage. I don't know. I mean, they're saying like building design and planning guidelines and shade and ventilation. Those are all great. I don't know what you do about something that is not a trend line globally that's not reversing. I don't know what you do about that. What's up, Rockfinners? How you doing? Thanks for hanging out on Rockfin. DB Cooper 3 says gasoline will be down to $2.89 October 2024, 5 to 6 weeks before the election. Got to get reelected, Probably. Guys, is my sound still good? Is anybody experiencing static? According to Penn State Medical School, 31C is fatal to all humans after about 8 hours, no matter their size. 31C, wet bulb temperature. Okay. Okay. Well, it is almost the end of the hour. All right. Poppy sent me this. Nikola Tesla theorized that electricity could be transmitted wirelessly. Well, they already have this on some levels. Anyway, she tweeted this at me. Startup raises $30 million to beam electricity wirelessly with the world's first industrial scale wireless power. That's interesting. Sometimes wiring can be insecure or inconvenient. What do you think that might do to people who are in the neighborhood of a wireless electricity transmitter? I don't know. That's just the first thing that came to my head. The thing is, though, they already have wireless charging for phones, so it's already a thing. This is already a technology that exists and that is being used. And they're doing, where did I hear they're doing lots of things wirelessly now? Like they can gather biometric readings from you through Wi-Fi. Right? If you're sitting at your computer or sitting on your phone or wherever, over Wi-Fi they can, detect things like your heart rate and other body temperature and stuff like that. That's already a thing that's not in development, but they can do it. They're just developing how to. Well, they're just telling you that they're going to roll it out. Maybe they've already rolled it out. Lost Adult says we call them radio towers. All right. Inductive wireless charging is less inefficient? Okay. Judy Truitt says, my brother can read his grandson's glucose level on his phone. Like, remotely? That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, when we're, that is very interesting, actually. I've been hearing other things about being able to use, we all have, well, the Earth has an electric charge, has a frequency. And we have an electronic frequency. We have, we actually produce. Is anybody else having problems with the sound? Anybody? Just checking. Please remember, if you are on Rockfin, YouTube, or on Callin, please like up the video. If you're enjoying the stream. Okay. All right. Okay. Check. What was I going to say? I hear some journalists talking about, the idea that they might harness your, they might harness your energy. They're already harnessing your energy if you go to work every day, right? If you're driving your car, if you're spending money, your energy is being harvested. They're already harvesting your energy. But the idea that they could harvest directly your direct electrical impulse. I actually think that's cool. I mean, they're making it sound like the Matrix, like they're gonna put you in a pod and suck your life juice out of you. I mean, that's a literal way they could do it, I guess. But they're already doing that to you in many other ways, right? You don't have to. No, nobody's shadowbound here, guys. I'm seeing your comments, so anyways, the thing is that if you, let's say you could harness your own energy, right? I don't see. I think that's kind of cool. I don't think that's weird. I think that's actually kind of great. Like, and on a just a whatever you want to call it, spiritual self-realization, self-awareness, attention, like you can harness your own energy, right? Like you actually can do it, there are ways to do it more efficiently, right? Like we all expend energy throughout the day, right? And some of us are more efficient than others. I always feel like I'm very inefficient. Other people tell me I look pretty efficient. I don't know which one it is. But the thing is that we can actually, we can better harness our own energy or better use our own energy. But let's say you could actually, there was a way to actually like use your own electricity for, positive things or things around you, right? Or even, creating a little electrical pulse, in order to, I don't know what. I don't think that would be, that doesn't seem crazy to me. Yeah. Guys, just really one very quick thing. I don't know if someone's saying, yeah, there are many ways to actually, better use your energy or better take care of your body, take care of your energy field, right? Utilize your energy in positive ways. I can go through so many examples of that, right? And then there are also spiritual and or physical practices that will up your energy rate. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're getting about to the end of the show. Again, good way to support the show is at buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews. No coffees yet as of today. A very direct way to support the show is Venmo and or Cash App. Those links are in the description box of all the platforms I'm on. Also, Rockfin tips, greatly appreciated. Super chats, greatly appreciated. All right. You know what, guys? That about does it for me. I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I only covered a couple of items today, and we ended up just kind of talking. Sometimes that happens. Probably we'll do something a little more focused tomorrow. But thanks for hanking out. I can't even talk today. Thanks. I love to hang out. I also love to hank out. So thanks for hanging out. I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace. Oh, that was weird. I don't know what happened there. Sorry, getting to the end of the... All right.